Somewhere in your life right now, there's a conversation you're avoiding. A raise you haven't asked for. A price you paid without questioning it. A yes you gave when you meant let me think about it. Negotiation isn't a boardroom skill. It's the invisible tax on every relationship, every purchase, every disagreement you've ever quietly lost by staying quiet. The hostage negotiator who realized logic never talked anyone off a ledge, empathy did. The Harvard professor who figured out most people are fighting over positions when they should be fighting over interests. The salesman who decided no isn't the end of a conversation, it's the beginning of the real one. The psychologist who proved most of us say yes for reasons we can't even name. None of them found a trick that wins every negotiation. They found something more durable than that. These 10 books are what they found. And the number one pick isn't a negotiation book at all. I ranked these by how much they actually change the way you show up in a negotiation, not by how many copies they sold. And for each one, I'm going to break down the actual ideas inside. Not just the title and a one-line summary. Number 10. Bargaining for Advantage by G. Richard Schell. Schell's core argument, built from years teaching negotiation at Wharton, is that there is no single best negotiating style. Because the most powerful variable in any negotiation isn't the tactic, it's you. His key concept is the negotiation styles framework. 5 instinctive responses people default to under pressure: competing, collaborating, compromising, accommodating, and avoiding. And Schell argues that most negotiation advice fails because it's written for one style and handed to people who default to a completely different one. A concrete example he gives. 2 people negotiate the same used car deal, one a natural competitor who opens aggressively low and enjoys the friction. The other a natural accommodator who feels physically uncomfortable pushing back at all. And Schell shows that the accommodator doesn't need to become the competitor. They need a small set of scripted moves that let them hold ground without having to fight the way their personality resists. Which is why the same book gives different people completely different homework. Link to grab this one is in the description, timestamped below. Number 9. Getting to Yes by Roger Fisher, William Uey, and Bruce Patton. Fisher, Uey, and Patton's core argument, built out of the Harvard Negotiation Project, is that most negotiations fail before they start because both sides are defending positions instead of talking about what they actually need. Their key concept is interests, not positions. The idea that a demand is just the tip of the iceberg, and underneath it is the actual want that demand was invented to protect. Paired with the standard of BATNA, your best alternative to a negotiated agreement. The number that tells you exactly when to walk away instead of guessing. A concrete example they give. 2 sisters fight over the last orange, agree to split it in half, and only later discover one needed the peel for a cake and the other needed the juice. Meaning a 5-second question about interests would have gotten each of them the whole thing they actually wanted. And the authors use it to show how a fair compromise can still be a total failure if nobody asked what was underneath the position in the first place. What makes this book different from Bargaining for Advantage is that Schell is teaching you to negotiate from your own instinctive style, while Fisher, Uey, and Patton are handing you a style-agnostic structure that works regardless of whether you're a natural fighter or a natural peacemaker. Link is in the description. Number 8. You Can Negotiate Anything by Herb Cohen. Cohen's core argument, drawn from decades as a professional negotiator, is that every negotiation, no matter how it's dressed up, comes down to 3 variables operating underneath the surface conversation. His key concept is power, time, and information. Power being perceived far more than it's real. Time creating pressure that almost always favors whoever appears less desperate for a deadline. And information being the resource both sides usually have far more of than they realize, and reveal far more of than they should. A concrete example he gives. A buyer negotiating a car deal casually mentions they need the car by Friday for a family trip. Handing away a deadline the dealer instantly uses as leverage, holding firm right up until Thursday afternoon. And Cohen uses it to show that most people lose negotiating power not through weakness, but through a compulsive need to fill silence with information nobody asked for. What makes this book different from Getting to Yes is that Fisher, Uwe, and Patton are optimizing for a mutually good outcome through structured collaboration, while Cohen is showing you the raw psychological levers underneath every negotiation, collaborative or not, so you can recognize when someone else is quietly pulling them on you. Grab it using the link below. Number 7. Start with No by Jim Camp. Camp's core argument, built from training corporate negotiation teams, is that the entire win-win framework popularized by books like Getting to Yes actually sets people up to be exploited because it pushes you to want the deal too badly. His key concept is decision-based negotiation. The practice of removing your own emotional neediness from the outcome so completely that you could genuinely walk away from any deal at any moment, and the other side can feel that you mean it. A concrete example he gives. A sales rep chasing a huge contract keeps saying yes to smaller and smaller concessions because losing the deal has become unthinkable to her. And the buyer, sensing exactly how badly she needs it, keeps asking for more. And Camp argues the deal was lost the moment she let herself need it, not in any of the individual concessions that followed. What makes this book different from You Can Negotiate Anything is that Cohen is teaching you to read and use power, time, and information as external levers, while Camp is arguing the real lever is internal, your own neediness, and that no external tactic works if you haven't dealt with that first. Links in the description. Number 6. The Power of a Positive No by William Uwe. Uwe's core argument, returning a decade after Getting to Yes, is that most people negotiate badly not because they can't say yes, but because they've never learned how to say no without either capitulating or blowing up the relationship. His key concept is the yes-no-yes structure. A positive no built from a yes that names what you actually value and are protecting. A no that is clear, firm, and stated without apology. And a second yes that proposes a way forward or invites the relationship to continue on new terms. A concrete example he gives. A father is asked by his company to work through his daughter's graduation, and instead of a guilty yes or an angry no, he tells his boss he's fully committed to the project and to being at that graduation, and asks how they can make both true. And Uwe shows this isn't a negotiating trick, it's a refusal to treat protecting what matters to me and damaging the relationship as the same act. What makes this book different from Start with No is that Camp is teaching you to build internal detachment so you're never afraid to walk away, while Uwe is teaching you the specific structure for the single hardest sentence in any negotiation, the actual word no, so it protects the relationship instead of costing you it. Link is in the description. Number 5. Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. Voss's core argument, built from years as the FBI's lead international kidnapping negotiator, is that logic doesn't move people in high-stakes negotiations, emotion does. And every negotiation, from a hostage standoff to a salary discussion, is really an emotional negotiation wearing a rational costume. His key concept is tactical empathy. Understanding and voicing the other side's feelings and perspective, not because you agree with them, but because being deeply heard is what actually lowers a person's guard. Built through tools like mirroring. Repeating the last few words someone says to invite them to keep talking and reveal more. Labeling. Naming an emotion you sense in the other person out loud, it seems like you're worried about, to diffuse it before it drives the conversation. And calibrated questions. Open-ended how and what questions that let the other side feel like they're solving the problem themselves. A concrete example he gives. Voss talks a kidnapper into releasing hostages not by offering money or threats, but by labeling the kidnapper's own fear out loud. It looks like you don't want to hurt anybody here, which shifts the entire emotional temperature of the standoff in seconds. What makes this book different from The Power of a Positive No is that Uwe is giving you the structure for the words you say, while Voss is giving you the psychological mechanism underneath why those words land at all, which is why his tools work even in negotiations where the other side has every incentive to lie to you. Links below. Number 4. Negotiation Genius by Deepak Malhotra and Max Bazerman. Malhotra and Bazerman's core argument, drawn from behavioral research at Harvard Business School, is that most negotiators lose not to a smarter opponent, but to their own cognitive biases, predictable mental shortcuts that quietly sabotage decisions before the negotiation even begins. Their key concept is naming the traps. Anchoring, where the first number said in a room disproportionately shapes everything that follows even when everyone knows it's arbitrary. Overconfidence, the tendency to overestimate how strong your own position actually is. And the winner's curse, the sinking feeling of realizing you got a deal accepted suspiciously fast, meaning you probably overpaid. A concrete example they give. Two executives negotiate a company acquisition, and the seller accepts the buyer's very first offer almost instantly. An outcome that feels like a win until the buyer realizes the speed of that acceptance is itself the most important piece of information in the entire negotiation. And the authors use it to show that a negotiation's real data often isn't in what was said, it's in how quickly the other side agreed to it. What makes this book different from Never Split the Difference is that Voss is teaching you to read and shape the other person's emotions, while Malhotra and Bazerman are teaching you to catch the distortions happening inside your own head. Biases that exist even when you're negotiating with someone acting in complete good faith. Link is in the description. Number 3. Influence by Robert Cialdini. Cialdini's core argument, drawn from decades of research into persuasion, is that most people say yes to requests not because they carefully weighed the merits, but because one of 6 automatic psychological triggers fired before conscious thought had a chance to catch up. His key concept is the 6 principles of influence. Reciprocity, the pull to return a favor, even an unwanted one. Commitment and consistency, the pressure to act in line with what we've already said or done. Social proof, trusting a choice more because others have already made it. Authority, deferring to perceived expertise or status. Liking, saying yes more easily to people we feel warmly toward. And scarcity, wanting something more the instant it seems limited or about to disappear. A concrete example he gives. A restaurant's tip jar fills up noticeably faster the moment a waiter leaves a single mint on the check alongside a second, unexpected mint a few seconds later. A tiny act of reciprocity that has nothing to do with the food and everything to do with a debt the customer suddenly feels obligated to repay. What makes this book different from Negotiation Genius is that Malhotra and Bazerman are cataloging the biases that sabotage your own decisions at the table, while Cialdini is cataloging the levers other people, deliberately or not, are already pulling on you before you ever sit down. Which is why this book reads less like negotiation strategy and more like a field guide to your own compliance. Link is in the description. Number 2. The Art of Negotiation by Michael Wheeler. Wheeler's core argument, built from decades teaching at Harvard Business School, is that nearly every negotiation book, including several on this list, teaches negotiation as if it were chess, a fixed sequence you can plan in advance, when in reality it behaves far more like jazz. His key concept is negotiating as improvisation. The discipline of preparing thoroughly while holding that preparation loosely enough to abandon the moment the actual conversation refuses to follow the script. Because the other person, their mood, and the information that surfaces mid-conversation are simply never fully knowable in advance. A concrete example he gives. A negotiator walks into a meeting with a carefully rehearsed opening offer, only to have the other side reveal, 30 seconds in, an unexpected deadline that changes every incentive in the room. And Wheeler shows that negotiators who rigidly stick to the plan they walked in with consistently do worse than those willing to improvise around the new information in real time. What makes this book different from Influence is that Cialdini is naming fixed, predictable psychological triggers that work roughly the same way every time, while Wheeler is arguing that real skill isn't in memorizing triggers or scripts at all, it's in the moment-to-moment adaptability to respond to a negotiation that is, by nature, never quite the same conversation twice. Links in the description. And number 1. Nonviolent Communication by Marshall Rosenberg. Unlike every other book on this list, this one isn't a negotiation book at all. It's a communication framework built by a psychologist working in some of the most violent conflict zones in the world, from war-torn regions to failing marriages. Rosenberg's central claim is that almost all conflict, including the negotiations we have every day without calling them that, comes from people expressing judgments and demands instead of observations and needs, and that this single substitution is what turns a solvable disagreement into a standoff. His key concept is the four-part process. Observation, stating what actually happened without evaluation. You were 15 minutes late, not you don't respect my time. Feeling, naming the emotion that observation produced, without blaming the other person for causing it. Need, identifying the universal human need underneath that feeling, connection, respect, security, autonomy. And request, asking clearly and specifically for an action that could meet that need, instead of a vague demand for the other person to simply be different. A concrete image he returns to. Two warring parties, or two exhausted spouses, sit across from each other locked into accusations, you always, you never. And Rosenberg shows that the instant one side switches from judgment to an honest statement of their own unmet need, the entire emotional architecture of the conflict changes, because it is far harder to fight a need than it is to fight an accusation. What makes this book the definitive number one on this list is that every other title here is teaching you how to win, protect, or navigate a negotiation once it's already become one. Rosenberg is arguing that most negotiations only exist because two people never learned how to say what they actually needed in the first place. And that the deepest negotiating skill isn't a tactic at all, it's the discipline of telling the truth about your own needs clearly enough that the other person doesn't have to negotiate against you to understand them. Link is in the description. The number one pick proves something simple. Negotiation isn't a battle to win. Sometimes it's just a need. And the only real skill is learning how to say it out loud. Which of these have you read, and which one changed how you think about negotiation? Drop it in the comments. Next video, 10 books that will completely change how you think about power.